Hi team, how are you? I'm dialing from a different location today. Dialing in, can't speak English. We're just waiting for our guest to join, so give us a few minutes. And if you join, let us know as always if you can hear us. Hi everyone. Hi, thanks for joining. Let me know if you can hear me. We're just waiting for our guest to join. She'll be on in 1 second, so hang in there. Hi Terrence, how are you? Hello, hello. Let me know how you guys are doing today. We're waiting for our guest to join. I'm good, Terrence. I'm good. Rahana's here with me. We're co-working together. We're hanging out at a WeWork. Hello, hi everyone. We're just hanging out until our guest joins. One moment. Oh, tell Rahana hello. Let me see. Okay, perfect. Christina joined. Perfect. Thank you, thank you. Rahana joined, Adrian joined. We're just waiting for Christina to come on. Okay, great. It should be connecting soon. It's just like, guys, with all the, technical difficulties and everything. Oh my gosh, hi. Hi, Christina. Nice to
Hey,
have
lady, how
you.
are
Hello.
you?
Guess where I'm tuning in from? Does the painting look familiar?
I have no idea. Would that be the WeWork?
Yes, the New York.
It was the
Yes.
LIC.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes,
You
yes,
just
yes.
gave away our spot, but it's okay. It's okay.
Oh no.
Yes, yes. But thank you so much for joining us. I'll just kick it off really quickly. As all of you may or may not know, my name is Justina, and I'm the founder of WeRule. We are a platform where we feature female founders, and we connect them to mentors, investors, and different business opportunities. And Rahana, my business partner, and I have been doing this for the past 5 years. So it's been a long ride. And a fun fact, Christina, who's joining us today, she was one of the original founders that we featured. So we're using today as kind of a way to check in with her a little bit, and see how the past, few years have been going for her. So Christina, thank you so much for being here. So excited to chat with you. We chat all the time, but we'll get into it later. So can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit just about, your childhood and, how you started out, and if you can let us in on the secret, if like back in the day you knew what you'd be doing today. You know how some kids, when they grow up, they're kind of like, oh, I want to be a fireman, or I want to have my own business, or a ballerina. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah. So I grew up well, I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I moved to, I guess, a kind of a rural part of Indiana when I was 10. But I did always want to be a teacher. So that is true. Like thinking back to my childhood, I did always want to teach.
Hmm.
And that kind of stayed with me over the years. I went to Indiana University for my undergrad in public health. And then I did a graduate degree at Indiana Wesleyan University. It's a small Christian university in Indiana. I did my master's program there. And then uh, so I was in Indiana for about 25 years, and just, the economy was down. A lot of manufacturing and everything from Detroit is trickles down to Indiana. So a lot of the plants and stuff were shutting down in Detroit. And so a lot of the manufacturing jobs are leaving. So I said, I kind of want to go back home
Hmm.
and, try my luck in Philadelphia, see how it would go. So I moved back probably about 11 years ago. And since that time, yeah, I started a nonprofit. and just we kind of was working in the evening and on the weekends, and it's around domestic violence intervention and training for first responders. So we would go into the universities and do training with the students, because we found out that there is no training for doctors and nurses, social workers, and like psychology students around domestic violence and domestic violence interventions. So we started doing some training with them over the last 8 years. And then I was a project manager at an institution in New York City, and started doing some work there around domestic violence. And it's kind of bloomed since then. I won a couple of awards last year.
No big deal. This
For
is give
two.
us all the bragging because they're amazing. So tell us about those.
Yeah, so I won 2 innovation awards last year at Icahn School of Medicine in New York City. So one was a poster challenge. So I'd never done a poster before, but I did it around domestic violence and the lack of training for first responders and doctors and nurses. And then, so I won that competition, and then I went on to a full pitch competition that happened last May. So it was right in the middle of the pandemic, and I also won that competition at Mount Sinai Innovation Partners. So that kind of like catapulted me to start really formalizing this business model around education and training for first responders, and using an online technology and platform that any doctor or any nurse can access anywhere in the world, essentially, to get trained so they can properly care for victims of domestic violence.
That's amazing. The work you do is so amazing. So I have a question for you, so people can kind of relate to what you just said. So a lot that you said is basically like you found that this education was lacking, right? And why do you think that is? Because I feel like domestic violence is such a huge problem in America, but also around the world. Like, why do you think there's such a lack for that specific need?
That's a good question. It's actually a question that I was talking with my team about earlier today, because we see a lot of interventions around like HIV awareness. We see a lot of interventions around breast cancer awareness, right? And those numbers don't even touch the number of women and children that are experiencing domestic violence every single day. So there's a huge gap. It's a huge white space that's not currently properly being addressed. Now, it's being addressed in many forms. Like, they have shelters. There are some training, like trauma-informed training, but they're just not meeting the need to bring down those numbers. So we're looking into that. We're trying to investigate, like, why is this being overlooked, and why is there very little funding also around this? So we know, even like for human trafficking, there's so much funding, right? But that's a very small portion of women and children who are experiencing abuse. And even sexual assault, there's a lot of funding for that. But the bulk of violence happens primarily to women who are between the ages of 18 to 54. And
at home, and it happens at home. Yeah.
It happens at home. Yep. And so some people were saying, it's really stigmatized, it's a shameful thing. So a lot of women are afraid to speak up. And, and so it's kind of like a hush hush taboo thing that happens behind closed doors. There's not really any clear reporting on it. Like, gun violence is really clear, right? Somebody gets shot, there's an injury, there's a death, right? But domestic violence happens behind closed doors. It happens in private settings, and there's not any really good reporting mechanism. We do a little bit go by the 911 calls that come in. So that's one way that we're measuring, like, but those are, extreme cases, and most women don't call 911. So we know in New York City, 700 women and children call 911 every single day for domestic violence.
Wow.
The numbers have been holding steady for the past 10 years. So if you think about that, 700 every single day, that number is huge. And about half of them will require emergency medical treatment. And our doctors and nurses are not prepared.
Wow. Because it comes with a lot of, there's one thing to, to treat someone, for a cut, or, if someone gets punched or whatever. but it's different to treat, someone for like to help them with the psychological trauma and like kind of, it's kind of like, it's hard to get out. Like, how do you help them? How do you provide them with resources? How do you hint to them, in a safe space that it's like, I got you, it's okay. This is what's available to you. So going back to, to the business perspective of this, obviously like you found the problem that you wanted to address, but how did you come up with a solution? Like, how long did it take you? Like, how did you go about that? Because a lot of people, we hear it all the time. There's this problem. We know that this person in X, Y, and Z needs it. There's a huge, huge need for it. But how did you figure out what the solution is? Like, what was your process there?
So
So
my
this is a
process,
surprise question, by the way, but putting you on the
yeah,
spot a
no,
little
that's
bit.
okay. So my process was a little bit around just kind of thinking about the problem on a very granular level, and really thinking about what we have currently that is not working for victims and why. So what we found is that a lot of programs that are in place were created by like researchers, right, who have really good intent, but it doesn't translate down to the ground for the victims,
Uh,
right? So our solutions, we couple the provider, right? So the clinician, the doctor who's actually going to provide this training or this service to the victim, with the survivor and with the victim. So we merge the two so that the solution not only works for the provider. So if we create a solution that works for the provider, it's easy for them, they don't have to do much. It
mm-hmm,
doesn't really translate and help the victim, is what we
mm-hmm.
found. Or if there's a really good program that's really supporting the victim, most times doctors aren't going to do it, or nurses aren't going to do it, or police aren't going to do
It's
it because
too much.
it's too much
Yeah.
for them. So it's also not going to translate on the ground and help the victim. So we merge both together when we're creating a solution, and we say, hey, doctor, is this something you would do? Is this easy for you? Does this go in your workflow? And then we say, hey, survivor, if you had this at the point where you were being injured or you were in trouble, would this have helped you? And
Mm-hmm.
then that's how we know how to create a solution that actually is going to impact on the ground and work for both, right?
Wow, wow, wow. That's amazing. And you know about this a little bit, but Rahana and I, we're working on, a lot of stuff right now. And that's what we keep talking about recently. Like, this is not about us, it's about our customer. So what we think is not necessarily what our customer is going to think. So we always try to put ourselves in the shoes of the customer. So that's basically what you're saying.
You
It's
put
about
yourself in the
merging the
shoes.
both sides together, right? Yeah.
Yes, you put yourself in their shoes and you make everything customer centric, like you said. You study that customer. You have to understand their thinking. You have
Mm-hmm.
to understand their thinking, not your thinking, right? Because you might not. I'm not a doctor, right? I haven't been through their schooling. I don't work in
Mm-hmm.
ED every day, so I can try
You
to
don't
see
know what
how
else
they.
they're dealing with in
I
their
don't know what else they're
careers,
dealing
right?
with. I have to talk with them. I have to ask them questions. I have to present the problem to them and say, how would you handle this? Does this make sense? And the same thing for a survivor. If you've never been in that situation, you can't assume you would know what to do at that moment because you haven't been there. So you have to ask those hard questions. So what happened here? What happened there? How could we have best supported you in that moment? So that's what we try to do. We don't try to put ourselves in that situation if we've never been there. We just ask the person who is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tap into their thinking, so that they're part of the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is amazing what you're saying because that was kind of like my revelation recently. Because with the way I ran business, to be honest, I'm just being transparent. I was like, I know what the solution is, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And recently, I'm like, wait a minute, like, let me just listen to customers what they actually need. And I'm like, oh, it's a little bit different than what I assumed that they needed. So that's really, really, really awesome that you're like confirming that and communicating that with everyone. So that's a good lesson right here. So to pivot a little bit, you are self-employed, and you're growing this business. And our question for you is, how do you deal with that? Especially with the pandemic. How do you deal? Like Rahana likes to call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because you're working home alone. You have a team, but everyone's remote. As the founder, like, how do you deal with all of that?
Yeah, so it's difficult. Like, right, if you read anything online or in books, they always say being a founder is very lonely, right? It's a very lonely experience because you're the only one. You have all these ideas in your head. You have all these strategies. You've done all this research, but your team doesn't know about that. And you have all these solutions in your head. So, one of the things that I've done is reach out to people like yourself, right? And one of the things I realized that I needed was an accountability group, right? I need accountability circle for when I'm stuck at a moment and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I've read all the books in it on it and I've watched all the videos I can, but I'm like, it's not making sense to me. I really need to talk with someone who's also doing a business because it might be around like operations. It might
Mhm.
be around just solution problem solving, right? So reaching out to others in a network and saying, hey, do you, as a business owner, are you having the same struggle, right? And then a lot of times they'll say, yes, I need an accountability partner too, somebody to hold me to
Mhm.
it. Because a lot of times, sometimes when you're trying to start your own business, you know, you can get pretty lazy, like, because it's only
Mhm.
you, you know what
Yep.
I mean? And you
No
can
one's
push it
holding you
off.
there to your deadlines. No one's
No
like,
one
hey,
told you
where is this? Yeah.
exactly, except yourself in your little
Mhm.
notebook, right? But I can push that off till tomorrow, or, you know, I can spend a day doing this or that. And then the days get away from you and get away from you. And you're like, oh,
Yep.
I was supposed to do 60 things this week and I did 5 of those things, right?
Yep.
So that's, you know, I reached out to you recently. I think it was about like 6 7 months ago, and I'm like, hey, you know, do you guys, you know, do you need an accountability group? Because I really wanted to start a networking group of women who could but band together as we're starting our businesses. Not necessarily women, just women and men, whoever, you know, wants to come along and needs
Mhm.
that accountability, like hold me to what I say I'm going to do. And I feel like since we've started meeting, and with Rahana as well,
Yeah. So by
it's
the way, guys, it's just been the three of us, you know?
yes.
Yep.
So we meet like every 2 weeks. It's like a 14-day accountability series or whatever, like a sprint. So we have every 14 days we have goals that we say we're gonna meet, and then when we meet, it's like, okay, what did you do the last 14 days, and what is your plan for the next 14 days? If you have a financial goal, then we need to make sure that we're hitting that, and how are we hitting that? Like granularly
And we
writing
have
down
some
those
big
steps.
ones too,
Yes.
coming from you. You're like, come on, guys, we have to make this money.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And you know, that's how we have to be. We have to
Mhm.
hold, because, you know, a lot of men do this for each other, right? You sent me things about other networking groups and networking circles of men, and they push each other to make $1 million, right? And
Mhm.
we can do the same thing as women.
Mhm.
So we started meeting like every 2 weeks, and I think it's really been helpful for both of our business because I can help support you in some of the questions that you guys have, because we don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. And then you guys support me when I have questions, or if I'm having a bad day, like Rosanna
Mhm.
says, you know, and you just need to vent to somebody about maybe all the challenges that you have, or all these 40 things that you need to get done today. You know, we can talk through those things, and you guys can be like, oh, think about doing this. And I'm like, oh, I never even thought about that. Or
Mhm.
you might know of a technology to make things simpler that we can use, like for social media, right? Or things like that. Or you might have a strategy for marketing that I never thought of. Or I might be able to think of ways to help your technology and things that you guys can think of that
Mhm.
you might not have thought of before. So having that team and that network really can help catapult your business. And I think that's been so supportive and so good for me during the pandemic, in this time. I don't know. What do you think? Is
I
Rahana on too?
Yes, Rahana's on. Should we call
Okay.
her up?
Yes, let's call her up.
Is she
Let's go,
listening?
girl.
Yeah, she's at WeWork with me. I don't know. She's going to yell at me if I tell her to say hello. But yeah, so it's been super helpful because like you said, I have Rahana, right? So
Yes.
even with her, she's been so helpful to me because I, for example, my biggest weakness is responding to text messages and emails. I get so many every day. Instagram, 7 email accounts, text. I deleted my Facebook because of that reason. So Rahana is actually very good, and she keeps me accountable to respond to emails. And she always says that I need an assistant, which is true. But talking about the accountability, she's like, Justina, did you respond to this, and this person? And I'm like, oh shoot, no, I didn't. So even having someone to help you along those tasks, because I'm always doing the next thing, I'm always doing something, but I suck at doing like the little things, you know? So even having her, it's been life changing because I would not be where I am today without her, you know?
So that is
So
one
it's
thing
true.
that a lot of people have to think about. Like, do you need a co-founder? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Is there someone who can, you know, if you have areas that you're really strong in, like I have really strong areas in like teaching and the clinical side, because I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But like maybe the operations side, I need someone who comes in with that strength. So you actually have to know
Exactly.
your strengths and your weaknesses, because you can't do everything as a business owner and a founder. You have to rely on a team. I have advisors who are part of my board and part of my team, that
Also, can we
really,
talk about that a little bit? So,
yeah.
a lot of people who will be watching this probably have businesses or nonprofits or starting businesses. So, how did you come? You have an amazing like board of advisors or directors, like so many amazing people. Like, how did you get them to be to support you?
So that's really funny, because one of my board members, I was having a talk with her the other day, and she's like, I really
Teach
want to,
me.
she's like, yeah, I really want to start my business. She was like, and I'm like so impressed with you that you have like all these amazing people on your
I
board. I'm like,
know.
you're part of my board. You're one of those amazing people.
She
Um,
was giving herself a compliment as well.
yes,
Like,
yeah. But yeah, so it's really about, like I said, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses and knowing where you need support. So I just started realizing that, for me to have a really good advisory team, I'm going to need clinical people on my team, right?
mhm,
Because they're the ones that are going to be using the technology. So I need them to be on my board to help develop this. As
mhm,
well as I need survivors, right? So I have some survivors that are on there. I also have ED social workers that are on my board, because they're the ones that are giving the support to the victims in the emergency room. So I need them as part of my board. I need them as part of my team to say, Christina, that doesn't make sense. No, I would never
mhm.
do that, right? Or the doctors to say, Christina, this doesn't go in my workflow, and we're not going to do it. So you can
Yeah.
stop right now,
Yeah.
wasting your time working on this aspect, because it's not going to happen, right? Or
So
this is
that's
actually what we
interesting.
need. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
so
is
that's
actually,
interesting that you say that
yeah.
because you basically the way you formed your board is basically you said, "Hey, I'm here, I have this business. Who can help me on this side and who can help me on this side?" And you brought those people together. So, how did you figure out who like how did you ask those people? Like, did you just send them an email like, "Hey, do you want to be my advisor?" Like, was it that easy or like did you do something else?
So what happened for me is, because I won those awards, it gave me access to people inside of Mount Sinai. So I just started there. So you have to
Mhm.
start where you have people. And so, yeah, I would meet with someone. I would ask people, can you introduce me to this person? Like, I think they would be really helpful to our project. And they were like, sure. So they sent an introductory email. I would follow up with like a Zoom call. And then I would just ask them, like, hey, I'm putting together this advisory board. Would you be interested? If it's just for an hour a month, I would be appreciative. But if you
Mhm.
can do more, I would love that too. And
Mhm.
so then my board has said, Christina, you need to talk to this guy. He's really good with software development.
Mhm.
I'll make the introduction. So you have to have those people on that are networkers, and
Mhm.
then they can open the door for you for other people. And that's how I've gotten the majority of my people. But also, I listen a lot in my area, right? So I listen a lot on the radio. I'm watching YouTube. I'm reaching
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Yes.
I'm reaching out to people on oh, I just lost it. Shoot. Uh, but anyway,
You
I'm
reach out
I'm
to
I'm
people.
I'm my ears to the ground, right?
Mhm.
So if I hear someone that says something different that I don't really know about, I'll call them. I heard this lady
Mhm.
on the radio. She was a clinical psychologist. I was like, oh my God, she's saying things that I've not heard of about therapy for domestic violence victims. I
Mhm.
called her. I asked her, would she be part of my board? I said, I heard you on the radio today. Would you be open? She said yes. And boom, there's that. So,
And it happened.
it happened. Also, over the years, I've been working with a lot of people in Philadelphia, a lot of the universities and stuff. So they know me. So they'll refer people to me in my nonprofit. And I'll say, hey, I'm working on this new technology. Would you be interested in being a part of that? People want to help. They want to
Mhm.
be a part of something new, innovative, fresh, different. So I
And you
found
know
that,
what? And I have to give this to you because every time we co-work together, you're always doing Zoom calls, you're always pitching. Like you are always in the pitch mode forever, which is so great because then your product and your business get in front of a lot of people instead
yes.
of keeping it in the little,
It's
in the little
hard.
box.
It was
Yeah.
hard at first, because I was like, oh, somebody's going to take it over and they're going to like run with it.
Yeah.
But I just started really having confidence in myself. I'm like, no, nobody can do this as good as I can. Nobody
Hmm.
understands the clinical side, and nobody understands the survivor side the way that I do. So nobody else is going to be able to do this the way I do, and I just run with it. And
Yeah.
it's true.
Nobody has the secret sauce that you
It's
have
true.
and that you believe in.
What
Exactly,
is that,
exactly, exactly.
competitive advantage? Yes.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So before we kind of finish and hop into like the few fun questions,
Oh
what do
no.
I always call the what is it called? Not the fast. Rahana will murder me, but no, I'm just kidding because I always forget the rapid fire questions. There you go.
Okay.
I
Yes,
always
yes,
call
yes.
it the fireside questions. I
Oh my
think the
gosh. And
rapid
I'm
fire.
I'm so nervous about these. I'm like, oh my God, what is she gonna
No, no,
ask?
no, no, no. They're fun. They're fun. They're fun. So
Okay.
my last question is, right? You have all these advisors. How do you deal with everyone's opinions? Like when they tell you, my opinion is that you should do this. Like, how do you figure out? Okay, so this person is successful. They're on my board. How do you figure out if actually you want to do or you don't want to do what they say? Because I'm sure you get some conflicting advice from people.
Yes. So that's a good question. I usually, with my advisors, if they tell me I need to look into something, I look into it, right? If
Hmm.
they say, Christine, you need to really look into security for your site. You make
Hmm.
sure that your security is top notch. And these are the things that you need to be thinking about. I'm like, okay, I write that down and I'm looking it up. Or they'll send me to an angel investor and they say, you really need to think about looking at this company. Like, I pretty much follow up on every single lead that they give me.
Hmm.
But I've also asked for them to do a little bit of due diligence. So
Hmm.
if you're going to bring me a problem, if you're going to say, well, this is a major problem that you didn't think of, and you presented on our advisory board meeting, right? Then I'm like, could you come up with 3 solutions to that problem? So if
Hmm.
you present a problem, you have to come with 3 solutions and how you're willing to be part of the help for that.
Hmm.
So you can't come up with 3 solutions and be like, Christina, and you need to do these 3 things because
Because you're like,
I
hello, I'm
like I've
only
got
here.
enough
Here
on
I
my
am.
plate. Yeah. So if you're going to bring a problem, you have to come with 3 solutions to it and how you're going to contribute to those solutions. That's what I ask.
Oh,
Otherwise, don't bring it to me because,
don't
there's a
tell me
million things that
too
we
many
could
things.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
And that's work. And that's work. And also, I say, if you're going to introduce anything new, I will add that to the bottom of the agenda if we have time to get to it. And if we don't, I'll email you later about it. Because I have a very tight agenda for my meetings. And because these people's time is very valuable. They're
Of
giving it to me
course.
for free. I don't want to waste their time like milling around trying to figure out a problem that's thrown out by the group that I haven't
Hmm.
even thought of. So
True, true,
everything
true, true, true.
I plan ahead of time, and I'm super organized in that way. And they appreciate that because I
Hmm.
take their time very seriously.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed that. I mean, every single meeting that I eavesdropped that you've been in, you're always just like this and this and this, and you always like have it together. So that's amazing.
Important.
That's a great message. So, going back to our rapid now, what is it?
Rapid fire. You're so
Rapid.
crazy.
I know it's my ESL. It comes out, and that's just how it is. Like I always say, like butter and soap in my head is the same thing. And I called Rahana Ariana sometimes because I have a friend Ariana, and I called Ariana Rahana. I just do that sometimes. I'm so sorry, but it's my ESL. so
Yeah,
let,
it
so
happens.
let
You're so
let's
funny.
get to the questions.
Okay.
So what is your favorite time of the day? And this is quick.
Okay, so like 10 p.m. is my best working time, honestly.
Why?
I don't know. I have no idea. Like I can't do much in the morning, but for some reason my brain kicks on at 10 and like from 10 to like 12, I'm on it. Like I can
You're
get
on
so
it.
much done. Maybe because it's quiet and
Hmm.
everybody sleep and I can just like really focus.
Hmm. Okay, cool, 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 cool. What is your biggest strength?
Strength?
Hmm.
I think my biggest strength is organization and like time management for the most part.
Hmm.
Yeah. I keep to-do lists above, beyond, and to-do lists of to-do lists. So being really organized is really important to me, and people's time is really important, and my time is really important, right? So
Hmm.
the more organized I am, the less time I have to mess around with, fumbling around with things. So yeah, organization maybe.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. That's great. What is like one vice you wish you could like, just take away from your life? So like too much candy, I don't know. So one vice, what's one vice that we're getting rid of?
Carbs.
Yeah, summer's
I am
here.
working on
Same,
getting
same.
rid of these carbs because what is that? I need to have like a hot girl summer or what is
Yeah.
that? Like just the summer body needs to
No,
come.
just hot girl life, not hot girl summer.
Oh, okay, hot girl life. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
But yeah, like getting rid of the carbs is really tough. Bread and pasta, but I'm working on it. Right? It's a daily challenge.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool, 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 cool. We're all sending you good vibes for that one. And the last question is diamonds or pearls?
Diamonds because I have friends who have pearls and they're like so into them. But I think
Yes, yes, the
diamond.
pearl people are snobby when they have the real pearls. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, you
Oh
don't have
no, Rahana,
pearls?
Rahana's clenching her pearls. Oh, oh my God, she's wearing pearls today. She's wearing
No
pearls
way!
today.
How
I'm about
funny
to
is
be in
that?
trouble. We shouldn't end this live because I'm about to be in trouble. So, no, but
But
I
yeah,
mean, like like the big pearl necklaces and all that. Girl was like, these are real pearls. Okay, it's okay. So diamonds because
yeah.
I
I don't
hijacked
know.
your answer.
I guess they're both rare, but I
Mhm.
don't know. I just like sparkly, shiny things.
Yeah. Yep. Same here.
Yep.
Approved. Message
Yay.
approved. So thank you so much for joining us. How can we
Yeah.
support you, or how can we find you?
Yeah, so we have our nonprofit is at speranzaproject.org. So Speranza means hope in Italian. So it's Speranza project.org. We also have Vanguard Medicine and vanguardmedicine.org. And those are both of our places. But I'm here on Instagram. And yeah, I'm trying to build up my Instagram um, membership or people or however you say that, likes,
Following.
following. Yeah, I'm trying to work on that. And Rahana and Justina are helping me with that. So yeah, you
With a
can
little
always
bit,
follow
a
me
little
here.
bit of content. Yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah.
we'll tag everything below. If you missed the beginning of the talk with Christina, we'll post it on my Instagram, so it's going to be available in a second. But yes, thank you so much, Christina. This
Thank
was
you.
amazing, and I'll
Yay.
see you in person on Tuesday, right?
Yes,
Yes.
I'll see you on Tuesday. All right.
Perfect. Thank
Have
you
a
so
good
much,
one. Have a good
everyone.
weekend.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
good day.